March 19th, 1985, Garden Grove, California, 3:27 in the morning. Police get a call from a man named David Brown. His wife has been shot twice. He was crying uncontrollably on the phone. When officers arrived, they walked into a bedroom. There's a woman lying on the bed, blood soaked through her chest. On the floor just a few feet away, a .38 caliber revolver with brown grips, with no clue of any suspect or any kind of burglary. That tells the story that the murderer is not someone unknown, but someone from the family who knows Linda very well. But here's where it gets strange. When the officers started searching the property, out back in a small wooden doghouse, they find a teenage girl. She's lying in her own vomit, barely conscious, clutching a piece of ribbon in her hand. Tied to that ribbon is a handwritten note. The girl is 14 years old. Her name is Cinnamon Brown, and she's the victim's stepdaughter. But the story was far more brutal than this, and what investigators was about to find later going to change the whole case direction to the perfectly planned murder. This is the story of a father who turned his own daughter into a killer. The perfect crime scene. Linda Marie Brown was 23 years old, a young mother. Beautiful, according to her family and friends who knew her. She was a pure soul who can never hurt someone. She had a baby girl, just 8 months old. Her husband was David Brown, a millionaire computer businessman. Charming, successful. This was his 5th marriage. Living with them was Linda's younger sister, Patty Bailey. She was 17, a teenager living in her big sister's house. And then there was Cinnamon, David's daughter from a previous marriage, 14 years old, quiet, shy, and her behavior with Linda was just a normal mother-daughter relation. On the surface, it looked like a picture-perfect family, but on that March morning, the scene told a different story. Someone shot Linda twice from point-blank range while she was sleeping, and the killer left the gun on the floor. When David called the police about his wife has been shot and his daughter is missing, officers arrived at the crime scene and starts investigating. When they found the stepdaughter in a doghouse, drugged, holding a suicide note. Cinnamon was taken to the hospital immediately. Doctors said she'd swallowed a dangerous cocktail of prescription pills. She only survived because she threw most of them up. While other officers started questioning David about what happened that morning, he told police he'd left the house earlier because of bickering between Cinnamon and Linda. Said he went to a supermarket, bought some comic books, got into a fight with a cashier, then sat in a parking lot for hours. When Cinnamon regained consciousness, she confessed, "I did it. I shot Linda because she was always on my case. I couldn't take it anymore." What looks like an open and shut case going to take a turn into a disturbing case. The girl in the doghouse. Cinnamon Brown was convicted of murder because she was a juvenile. She was sent to the California Youth Authority in Camarillo. She could have been held there until she turned 25, or longer depending on her behavior. And for nearly 4 years, that's where she stayed. But while Cinnamon sat in a cell, something else was happening on the outside. Remember David Brown? The grieving husband? He collected $835,000 from Linda's life insurance policies. Within 5 months of the murder, he bought a $350,000 a brand new house in Anaheim Hills, mansion territory, and one more person moved with him in the house. Patty Bailey, Linda's 17-year-old sister. David and Patty got married in secret just 16 months after Linda was killed. David Brown, the grieving widower, was now sleeping with his wife's teenage sister in a mansion bought with his wife's insurance money. But here's the part that makes this story more disgusting. Patty wasn't just the new wife. She had been living in that house the whole time. She had been part of the family. And according to court documents later, David Brown had been sexually abusing Patty since she was 11 years old, right under her sister's nose. Meanwhile, Cinnamon remained silent. For years, she told investigators the same thing. But in 1988, something changed. A detective named Jay Newell from the Orange County District Attorney's Office never believed the original story. Something keeps bothering him. Why would a 14-year-old girl with no history of violence suddenly murder her stepmother over nagging? He kept visiting Cinnamon in prison, kept asking questions to get some more clue of this case. And finally, in the summer of 1988, she broke and revealed something that was going to stun every single person in that room. Cinnamon said her father had been planning Linda's murder for months. He told her that Linda was going to kill him and steal his computer business, that she was very dangerous for the family and someone has to stop her from doing all this. He even manipulated her by saying, "If you love me, you'll do this for me." That those were David's exact words. He told Cinnamon that he didn't have enough courage to pull the trigger, but she was young, a juvenile. Even if she got caught, he promised she wouldn't spend any real time in jail. David gave her specific instructions. Use a pillow to muffle the sound. Shoot twice, then swallow these pills. He even wrote the note for her. That night, March 19th, 1985, David woke Cinnamon up, he handed her the gun, and then he left the house. Cinnamon walked into Linda's bedroom. Her stepmother was asleep, while her newborn baby was in the next room. She pointed the gun towards her chest, and she pulled the trigger. Then Cinnamon did exactly what her father told her to do. She swallowed the pills and she crawled into the doghouse. So when the police search the house, they will find Cinnamon in the doghouse, and the whole scene would look like a robbery case, except she didn't die. And she threw up, and when the police found her, she stuck to her father's plan. For 4 years, she protected him. She went to prison for him. But David was living his life out. He cashed the insurance check, bought a mansion, married his teenage lover, and never once visited his own daughter in prison. The father's reign ends. In 1990, David Brown went on trial for first-degree murder. Cinnamon testified against him. For nearly 4 hours, she sat in that courtroom, the same daughter he had sacrificed, and told the jury everything. I was willing to do it because I loved him. I didn't want to lose him. Patty Bailey, Linda's sister, David's new wife, also turned on him. She pleaded guilty to murder as a juvenile and agreed to testify. The jury took just 7 hours to reach a verdict, and David was found guilty. He convicted of orchestrating his wife's murder. The judge sentenced him to life in prison without the possibility of parole. He died in 2014 in a prison hospital, still maintaining his innocence, claiming he was set up. Patty Bailey was also convicted and sent to the youth authority. But what about Cinnamon? Yet the girl who actually pulled the trigger? After she testified, the parole board reviewed her case. In 1992, 7 years after the murder, she was released. She had earned her high school diploma in prison, even completed an associate's degree. One parole board member opposed her release. He wrote that Cinnamon has not explored all the reasons she was able to twice shoot her victim. But the prosecutor who put David Brown away disagreed. He said, "The real story is the courage of this kid, a 14-year-old who was completely brainwashed by her father, who herself has been the victim of terrible crimes and has now paid her debt to society." This case inspired 2 books, including Anne Rule's If You Really Loved Me and a 4-hour NBC miniseries called Love, Lies, and Murder.